The desert stretched endless, the earth cracked and thirsty beneath a fading sun. A woman stumbled through the dust, blood tracing her steps like a trail no one should follow. Behind her, faint echoes of hooves carried through the canyon. Hunters, not saviors. She clutched her side, pressing against the wound where the bullet had grazed her ribs. Each heartbeat felt like fire, yet she moved forward, driven by defiance stronger than pain. The sky bled red as she fell beside a patch of dry sage. The wind tugged at her hair, whispering the voices of her people, gone now, scattered, or dead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, she closed her eyes, ready to vanish into the sand. But the desert wasn't done with her yet. The night rose cold and clear, silver light spilling across the desert floor. Coyotes sang far off, but closer came the slow rhythm of hooves, a lone rider cutting through the dark. He reined in when he saw her among the rocks, still and broken against the sand. Dismounting, he knelt, studying the faint rise and fall of her chest. Her pulse was weak, her skin fever-hot. "Easy now," he murmured, voice low as the night wind. He wrapped her in his coat, lifted her gently, and carried her to his horse. The moonlight caught his face, weathered, quiet, a man used to solitude. That night beneath the stars, two strangers began a story neither had asked for. The cabin sat deep in a grove of pines, smoke curling into dawn's first light. He laid her on a cot, cleaned the wound with whiskey and silence. She stirred once, fevered, whispering words he couldn't understand, fragments of pain and memory. He cooled her brow, eyes heavy with unspoken care. Days blurred together. He hunted, cooked, checked her breathing each night. She survived by sheer will. When her eyes finally opened, she met his gaze with confusion and caution. "You're safe," he said. Her lips parted, voice rough. "Why?" He looked away. "Didn't sit right, leaving you for dead." The fire crackled between them like a promise neither dared acknowledge. Time moved different in the pines. He chopped wood, mended fences. She watched from the doorway, wrapped in a blanket. He never asked her name, and she never offered it. When he set bread on the table, she ate. When he poured water, she drank. At night she hummed, low, haunting tunes drifting through the cracks in the walls. He listened without meaning to, pretending to busy himself with the fire. Once their fingers brushed when he passed her a cup. He cleared his throat. "You'll heal fine." She met his eyes. "You don't talk much." He smiled faintly. "Ain't much worth sayin'." Between silence and smoke, trust began to flicker. Sleep brought her no peace. Flashes of fire, betrayal, and her brother's face haunted her dreams. She woke gasping, sweat cold on her skin. From the chair by the fire, his voice came softly. "Another dream?" She nodded. He poured water and sat beside her. The silence between them was heavy, but kind. "You lost people," he said quietly. Her voice broke. "Everyone." He nodded slowly, understanding carved in his eyes. She noticed the scars on his hands, proof of his own ghosts. In that quiet room, grief recognized grief, and something unseen began to heal. Dawn crept through the cabin. She sat by the fire, voice low but steady. "My brother sold me, thought giving me to them would make him powerful." His jaw tightened. "Family cuts deeper than knives." "You know that pain?" she asked. He nodded. "Buried my own blood years ago." Neither spoke for a long while. The fire popped softly. Then she whispered, "I should have died out there." "You didn't," he said. "That means something." Outside, the wind shifted. carrying the scent of pine and possibility. By noon, 5 riders appeared on the ridge, sunlight glinting off metal. He stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. Inside she froze. "They found me." "Then they'll wish they hadn't," he said evenly. She wanted to beg him not to fight, but his calm silenced her. "They'll kill you too." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but I never cared much for runnin'." When the first rider's call echoed, he raised his rifle. Side by side, they faced the storm rolling down the canyon. The first shot splintered the porch rail. He fired back, dropping one rider. The others scattered, circling like wolves. She reloaded his spare pistol with trembling hands. "You can still run," he shouted. "No," she answered, steady now. "Not again." She stepped into the doorway, fired, and one rider crashed to the ground. The battle burned quick and brutal. Smoke thickened. The smell of iron hung heavy. When silence fell, she stood beside him, trembling but unbroken. He looked at her in quiet awe. "You ever held a gun before?" She met his eyes. "Only in my dreams." The ridge fell silent. The last rider lay bleeding, eyes bright with hate. He raised his revolver, thumb on the hammer. She stepped beside him. "He was one of my brother's men. You want the shot?" She shook her head. "No more death." He hesitated, then lowered the gun. The choice felt heavier than killing. The man coughed once, then stilled. She sank to her knees. He looked toward the horizon, voice barely a whisper. "Guess that's the end of it." She stared into the dust. "No," she said softly. "It's the beginning." Peace returned slowly. The cabin filled with quiet rhythms, bread baking, laughter soft as wind through pines. She smiled more often, he noticed, though said nothing. One morning she mended his torn shirt. "You should have let me go," she said. He shook his head. "Didn't seem right." Their smiles met, small, shy, and real. In the stillness of that mountain day, something unspoken took root. Peace carved from pain. Rain came sudden and fierce. Lightning split the sky, shaking the earth. Inside, the wind roared through the cabin walls. She stood by the window. "It sounds like war." He came beside her, close. "Not war, just life, loud as it gets." Thunder rolled. She turned, eyes bright, trembling not from fear, but from feeling. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. The storm raged on outside, but within those walls, distance fell away. When morning came, the world smelled of rain and new beginnings. The days that followed were quiet. They rebuilt fences, planted seeds, tended the land. Sometimes, when the wind blew right, faint hoofbeats echoed far away, ghosts that refused to rest. He'd stop working, scanning the horizon. She'd touch his arm. "They're gone." He'd nod, though his eyes stayed on the distance. Maybe, maybe not. The wind carried the scent of sage and rain. Her red shawl fluttered, bright against the fading sun. Whatever shadows lingered, they faced them together. No longer strangers, but souls bound by survival. In the heart of the West, love wasn't gentle, but it was enough.